Welcome to today's episode of Hot Jobs. Today, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors at Heritage Roofing and Construction. You guys know how much we talk about Heritage because they are a great partner. They are a family owned and operated business out of Central Texas. We have a number of roles listed for Heritage on the direct hire side for account managers as well as SkillBridge. They are our partners for a long time now. And if you have the desire to kind of run your own business under the umbrella of someone else, then I would highly suggest checking out Heritage. They're always looking to hire great talent, and they especially love hiring veterans because of their work ethic. This is a great role if you want to get out, own your own project, be able to build relationships within your community, and provide a great service in roofing and all types of home repairs. So go ahead and check out Heritage Roofing and Construction on our website above me, right here, hiremilitary.us. And if you are tuning in, you probably noticed I have a new co-host for the week. Rue, thanks for joining us today. Would you give our listeners a little background on yourself?
Yes. First, same haircut, but different person.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Joaquin de Quintana-Roo. I'm an Army veteran. Retired just about 7 years ago now. Been in the civilian sector, doing a number of jobs from director of HR to VP of HR. And now I'm one of the career coaches at Tenova, helping out with the TSR program. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for filling in for Mike today. And we're going to be talking about all things TSR in a couple minutes. But of course, first, we're going to do our little bit of chit chat. So if you're tuning in, first, we have a question for you. We usually want you to write in on what type of role you're looking for and where you are viewing from, which you can still do. But, Rue and I were talking about what our topic should be for today. We love to talk about things in the career navigation space, whether that's tips or topics or trends or what we're seeing. And we started thinking about all kinds of things we could bring up today, but it all really boils down to communication. And so that's kind of be what we touch on in a couple of different avenues. But before we started recording, we wanted to ask the audience, where do you think your interview actually starts? So if you have an idea on where we're going with this, go ahead and drop a comment in the chat. And if you're right, I will put you on the screen. And you will just get the satisfaction of being right, not necessarily winning anything.
We will sing your praise.
We will sing your praise. We will sing your praise. Yeah. Yeah. But, through communication, I think, what we're challenging you guys to do is think about where is my time being spent and how am I being evaluated and when am I being evaluated? So, Rue, when you're thinking about evaluation of a candidate for either a full-time role or an internship, especially with your HR background, where do you think interviewing really starts?
It honestly starts with the initial communication. And if it's through an ATS, you're submitting your resume. I'm looking at a list of people and names popping up. I'm associating those with your email address.
Sure.
So it's super important to have a professionalized email address. It's also a good idea to just have an email address just for your job search, because then that way the amount of spam that we've built up over the years floods things. I know when I was looking for a job, I was having a hard time focusing on what I was supposed to be doing and making sure that I wasn't missing anything, checking my junk folder, seeing if there was something in between. So obviously, if I'm Joaquin de Quintana-Roo, granted I have a super long name, and my Tenova email is so long because we did the dot method of Joaquin Quintana-Roo. That is an exception where you might just put Joaquin D and then some numbers, or for those of you with regular length names, first name, last name, or last name, first name, and then a number. I've seen some pretty wild things like Snow Bunny 42, race car driver 96, things like that instantly makes people judge why you did that. You may have done it for the right reasons, but you're giving them something about you before you get to present it to them officially.
Yes. As the candidate, you want to control the narrative. And you don't want to give anyone information that could be interpreted differently than you meant it. right? So race car driver 95, maybe they were a race car driver. But if you're
Quite possibly might make for a good story. Might be that connection you need with that hiring manager, but chances are no.
But chances, yeah, are slim. It's possible, not probable, I like to say. So yeah, I mean, that first initial contact, your interview, right? The person who is evaluating whether you're going to move to that next round really starts with how you communicate that very first time. And that can be your email address. So yeah, I love the idea of having a separate email address for your applications, keeping it really simple, and this way you know you're not missing anything.
Yeah. And it's also important in how you communicate.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I know everyone emails, everyone texts. A lot of times people are kind of moving into text mode while they're in an email, which is fine for an established person or someone you talk with on a regular basis. But when it's someone new and you don't know their communication style, you should be trying to at least get the 5 W's into whatever that communication is. If you're asking a question, don't leave any doubts. If you're answering a question, don't leave anything open for follow-up, so that that person can maximize their time and understand that you are a good communicator and they like your communication style.
Yeah. I think what you're also saying is that you are trying to have the least amount of touch points with the most amount of impact. So
Totally.
I don't want to have to go back to the same person 3 times for the first email I sent. Like if I said this before we started recording, I hate when I ask 2 questions and the reply comes back with only one of those addressed. Because that's like an extra volley. I'm thinking of like tennis or pickleball, if you will. I'm trying to only hit the ball 1 time over the net. Like I hit it multiple times. I guess maybe volleyball is a better sport to compare to. So having the minimal amount of touch points with the most amount of impact when it comes to communication, especially if that is external communication, like we're saying. So that could be clients, that could be partners or stakeholders, making sure that all of those 5 W's are addressed. I think the other thing that people kind of glance over in this, in this like hygiene space is, if you're not ready to answer all 5 W's, then you're probably not ready to send that email. And maybe synthesizing it, getting your information, and then writing a succinct response versus having a really rapid response that's suboptimal.
Yeah, when I was a general's aide, the general that I worked for was very adamant. He's like, I don't read anything over 5 lines long. I don't have time for that. If you can't get me, you can add on a PowerPoint, that type of thing, but like, hey, this is what I need to know. I have this long to look at it because I'm already on to 7 more things. Their time is extremely valuable, and you can't get it back. So you want to keep it as succinct as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There's also a difference in your communication styles from internal versus external.
Yeah.
A new person that you're like interviewing with, you're trying to build trust as quickly as possible. Some commonalities between you, them, you and the workforce, you and the industry. Internal communication, people that you work with, you're trying to build cohesion, be a team member, learn about them on more than just a work level. Because that builds a trust that knows that they can rely on you when the times are tough. You like, oh, it was great that we talked. I'm having this problem. Is there something you could help me out with? Sure. Be connective with them.
Internal communication should not feel transactional, whereas most other external can feel transactional in that they're asking for a service or a question and you're answering it. But internally, again, depending on what the project or program is, there is that little bit more of like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I noticed this. Or you start to talk about your hobbies or what you did on the weekend. And again, it's going to depend on the level of communication. Certainly, like us at Nova, we have different types of communication, right? We all get on Teams calls where we might open with 5 minutes of like banter or football or weekend or holiday stuff. And then we kind of get to our meeting. Or like we said, with like the texting versus email, we have teams where we can send messages. So that might be a little bit even more informal. And then if we're, wrapping up a program with an email, maybe that is a little bit more formal. So kind of understanding those levels of communication internally as well.
I'm going to answer Greg's question about what is the best way to make your resume ATS friendly for each job. A key rule that I follow is an ATS friendly resume doesn't look cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't. You want all the information to be easily read. Watch your commas, semicolons, dashes, lines, hashtags, all that gets assimilated into ATS. The best way, run it through AI and say, hey, how is this going to match up with ATS and what are your recommendations? And then kind of judge it. If you're handing one to somebody, if it's like I've got a stack of these resumes in my bag and I'm in an elevator at the place and I make a connection and I pull out like, hey, here's my resume or my card, that type of thing. That might be a little prettier. It might give an eye grab. But if it's not one solid pane broken up horizontally, or if you have the side pane with all the information, ATS hates those. Get away from that. The colors don't matter. It just needs to be as legible and thought out as possible, and it should flow through a lot better. Matching it up against the job description is another one that's going to help, because ATS is going to be picking those key words, and that's another one you can use AI for, or hopefully some HR professional. You're welcome to send it to me and say, hey, could you take a look at this? And I'll be like, I'll give it a quick 2-minute read up, down, and give you some comments. I have no problems with that.
Absolutely. Keep it simple, right? It is what we're saying. All of the fun layouts, they look nice if you're going to print it, but that's not going to translate to a software system. So keeping it as simple as possible. And of course, you have to write your resume and capture your experience in the tone or the language of the job post. And that's why we harp on tailoring it for those reasons.
And don't put your picture on it.
Don't put your picture on it. Don't put any pictures on it, actually.
This isn't Facebook.
No.
This isn't Instagram.
Please don't put your picture on it.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
You're not a model. Unless you're a model, that might be.
Again, and we're speaking in our own niche, right?
Right.
I, at one point, had to help recruit for graphic designers, and the fun layouts and colors and pictures were awesome on their resumes. And they also had to submit work samples. So that was something that was totally new to me. So that's where I would appreciate, like, okay, I'm hiring someone to do graphics. I'm going to look at their work. But when we're talking about, jobs in the space where we're talking about government, just regular private sector, non-arts, I'll call them non-arts. We're going to look for the most simple. And kind of back to what we were saying with those 5 W's, are you qualified to do the job? Can you do the job? Prove that you've done similar work. Are those questions answered in your resume? I hope so.
Yeah. Another piece is wrapping up your interview or your interaction with a person. In the military, we called it a back brief. Tara gives me a laundry list of things. How better to show that I'm paying attention and listening to what she is saying than to repeat it back to her in some form or fashion. Obviously, you should always have something to write on and write with, so you can be taking notes in your own little way. Some people have photographic memories or can remember everything that someone said. If that's you, more power to you. But I always keep a little piece of paper that I can just be like, okay, the key points were A, B, C, and D, and I just want to make sure I got those right, because I don't want to waste any of your time or my time having to have this meeting a second time.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there are so many ways to capture that now. I like to have notes in my own handwriting, but as you know, I also have an AI note taker who joins all of my meetings with permission of my guests.
It even joins meetings she's not at.
That's right. It works harder than I do, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the dream. But so it can capture everything that the people say in case I miss something, because sometimes, or great for me to go back and sometimes re-listen to the meeting if I was unsure, unclear of an ask. But yeah, I also like to take notes in my own handwriting. So there's a strong reason for follow-up. And I personally love a recap email so that I can also understand what was important to the other person in case I got it wrong. It's like, hey, this is what we talked about. These are the action items. But I always leave that door open to be like, did I miss anything? Or are these not your priority? Or, would you like to restructure your priorities now that we've had the meeting and I presented information and you've had time to synthesize or think about it? You say, you know what, like, let's actually go with number 2 on your list first, as I think that's probably the needle mover. So really important is the follow-up. And I feel like that's where people might drop the ball a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point in the interview process to be a person. You can also, say what you're passionate about. Say, hey, I really enjoyed this. It wasn't just like, I thought the job sounded good and I think I'll do real well at it. No, like, I really enjoyed the time we spent together talking about A, B, C, and D. It was an interesting outlook. I'm excited for the possibilities. A lot of keywords, buzzwords that shows you actually, you're doing more than just going through the process and trying to get a job. You're trying to be part of something.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some comments about the ATS friendly resume, which I'm going to put up here. So Weston, yeah, I mean, listen, this is not like a silver bullet solution. At the end of the day, you do have to demonstrate the expertise and that you've had some type of work experience in this area. So I'm not exactly sure, where the issue is here. But yeah, it's definitely not a silver bullet. Someone else said you have to go back and read it afterwards. Yes. You must see what any automation, any AI, any program, any resume builder said about your experience or how they reworked some of those bullets or format. Yes, you will always have to reread it. But you would do that with another person, right? If I gave my resume to Rue and he, fixed it or rewrote it or changed some things, I would hope that I would go back and also read it before hitting submit.
In Weston, I would say 1 week, 20 and no callbacks. That's you're not doing bad. That's normal.
Yes. Yeah.
I was looking for a job for 14 months. I probably did 500. And I probably got called back for about 10. And half of those went to second, third, final rounds. So it's a weird time. And if you're a veteran, it's like 3 or 4% right now. So you just got to keep plugging away. You want to get to the decision maker as quick as possible. So it's leveraging your network, other people's networks. If you're not daily on LinkedIn, reposting things, getting your algorithm higher, reaching out to every single person just for either informational interviews or to take a look at your resumes, just get the door open and get in there. And then it's going to take some effort.
Yeah. And don't feel discouraged. And we know it's tough for sure. And it's definitely hard to hear no, especially that many times. But keep at it for sure. Lots of good engagement on. We agree, Harrison. The hardest thing to do is get face to face with that decision maker. We know for sure. And this is where Rue was talking about networking, right? Using people in your own network, reaching out to folks, doing those informational interviews, in engaging with like-minded individuals, whether that's our brand or lots of other great brands out there who have opportunities or talk about opportunities. This is not a 5-minute, once a week type of scenario. This takes a lot of work. And that's why we constantly harp on engaging with your network or building your network all the time, not just when you're job seeking, not just when you have an opportunity to be filled, but to continue to look for great partnerships and people that can, help rise your ship as well, right? High tide raises all ships over time. So it doesn't feel transactional because you're always there engaging. You're always looking to help or be helped, right? To be part of the village, you have to be willing to be a villager.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to point out, was that your next job and your ability to get it starts in your current job.
Yeah.
Sadly, you should be out networking. When you think you've got a job, like I thought I had in the company I was in, went out of business. And then I was like, I spent all this time working for that company because they had a lot of issues going on, and I was trying to fix them. I was being a team member. What I wasn't doing was taking care of myself. I wasn't getting out to symposiums and HR conferences and things like that because it wasn't as important as helping the people that I worked with. But you got to spend a little bit of time growing your network and creating your network.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we may, if we have time, we're going to come back to some of the comments, but because it's hot jobs, we do want to talk about some job opportunities. But if you still have comments or questions, continue to put them in the comments. And if we can't get to them on camera, we can certainly answer them via comments back on our LinkedIn page. So we're going to kick things off today with TSR. So Roop, because I have you here today and your time is valuable, I am excited to be able to talk about our TSR program with someone who works on the program.
I work on the program.
Give us some information. You sure do. Tell us about TSR.
TSR is a great program, especially if you are a transitioning service member who's in the cybersecurity or cybersecurity enabler realm. The idea is ultimately we want to keep people in the total force. So those moving from the active component to the reserve component in any of the services are afforded the ability to join the TSR program and get next level help on finding a job. We're not pointing out jobs for you to do necessarily or to apply for, but we're helping you with resume, coaching, anything that is involved in the process. We either have the expertise, have the partnerships, and sometimes we actually do have connections at the different organizations, and we're more than happy to cold call, do a connection, and get you at least into somebody connected with somebody in the industry. And it's been working out really well. It's a tough thing for people to who are coming from the military to rely on others for help, because typically we're the ones helping people, and you have to realize that the market is not as good as it could be out there. And even if you think you're good, there's your version of good, the military's version of good, and then there's the civilian force and what they're looking for. And we are doing our best to help people break those walls down.
Absolutely. You know what I was thinking while you were explaining that is there's no reason for someone in this space not to at least opt in and do a couple of calls, right? Doesn't cost anything. It's completely free to service members. Yeah. I do want to put up our flyer too. If people are interested in learning more about the program and if they can opt in, 2 ways to get some more information. You can certainly leave a comment on this stream here in the comment section, and one of our team members will reach out to you directly. If you are on a computer and you have your phone nearby, you can go ahead and scan that QR code, which will take you to our application site. And then a team member can reach out to you that way. So one of the things that I love about TSR in particular is that it's really one-on-one. So I've been lucky enough to jump on calls with Rue and some of our participants in the program. And it's like such a nice, I don't know, I want to say it's like it's super like open and casual and friendly. Like it's clear that Rue knew this guy, like they were joking, they were laughing, and it didn't feel like this, I don't know, like formal buttoned up thing, process, right? It was like, yeah, exactly. It felt like, hey, I know this person, I'm helping them. And it wasn't like so stark or scary, I guess. Like I don't want people to feel like, oh, this is going to be a checklist of okay, do this, do this, do this, do this. It was really like, okay, what do you need today? Yeah, we're going to talk about this. And then the conversation just like naturally shifted to another area, you know? So our participant was also like moving and like going through all these things. And Rue was just able to adapt and be like, yeah, okay, let's focus on these two because these are going to be your most, you know, two important tasks in the next 4 weeks before you get ready to pack up this house. So that was something that really spoke to me. I get messages of all kinds because the website emails come to me. And a lot of times people will say, well, like, how is this different than anything else, right? How is your program different? How I can get this for free? Well, this program really is different, right? It is free for service members. It's completely funded by DOW-CIO, and it is one-on-one. So you're not in a class of 300 where you're taking notes on a PowerPoint. It's really customizable to what you need in a transition. Is there any? Go ahead.
I was going to say the only part of the process that is going to happen every single time is the first call. You're going to learn about the program. We're going to assess where you're currently at.
Yeah.
There's going to be some homework. And after that, it's like, you know, it's in whatever direction it needs to go to get you to where you need to be. Totally. And that's the scary part. Like people like, oh, if it was TAP, you're like, well, I only need help with my resume, but I don't want to sit through the other things. I don't want to sit through the other things with you either, unless you need those. But if you need help on just your resume, we're going to focus on just your resume. Yeah. And then I'm going to say some other things that, you know, you may not have thought of. You may not know what you don't know. So,
yeah. That brings me to another thought I had when we were saying that like service members don't always like to ask for help. The scariest place to be is knowing you don't know. And like that next step is asking for help. And then the scariest part is over, right? Then the scariest part is over. So if that's you, I know I see some comments about some folks who are interested. We will certainly reach out to you guys. We are excited about this program and it continues to grow, which is great. We love helping folks in the space. And yeah, great program. So thanks for joining us today and being able to talk about it, Rue.
I appreciate it. It was great time.
So before we wrap up, I'm going to just talk about a couple of our SkillBridge programs. I do talk about the positions at Texas Instruments a lot. One, because I have a ton to fill, and two, because they're great partners. And today, I actually have new information. So I do talk about the equipment technician position pretty frequently. One, because I think it's really cool. I think the work they do in their labs is really important. I have said this before, but if you own a charger for anything, computer, cell phone, TI makes at least 20 pieces that go into that charger. So really important work they're doing at Texas Instruments. The equipment technician, we are looking for transitioning. So this is SkillBridge. You do need to be approaching your last 180 days of active duty service to participate in this. There are 2 locations, one in Dallas and one in Lehigh, Texas. There is a living stipend. None of our other SkillBridge partners do this. You do have a stipend to help pay for accommodations. We know that housing and stuff can be tough. TI helps with that. And they do that for every single intern, not just transitioning service members, any college intern. And that's why it is all above board for SkillBridge. The thing that I learned last week was that, let's say you are a transitioning service member and you are going to maybe bringing your family with you. There's an opportunity for your spouse or partner to also get employment at Texas Instruments during the time of your SkillBridge. It's not a guarantee, but they do have a program that is looking at this. It's called the Encore program. So they can be at least get to an interview. It is tough to get into an interview at Texas Instruments. If you're just like applying off their website, they get hundreds of thousands of applicants. But through the Encore program, their spouse or partner can at least be considered they would at least get an interview for the position. And these could be HR roles, admin roles, clerk roles, so a really large variety. So just another reason why I think they've been such great partners in this program, in their Valor program, which is SkillBridge. So just another reason to consider a position at Texas Instruments. I don't know anyone else who does that. So I love that they're thinking about male spouses and partners as these folks transition, because they know that it can be tough on families.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns when you're transitioning.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, we are at 30 minutes. Mike always thinks that if he's not here, that we'll be short. But for the record, we aren't short. We have plenty to talk about without you, Mike. I know he's going to see this and laugh.
Tara is actually short.
That is true. I am physically short. However, my personality makes me very large.
Wow. Yeah, I'm surprised the screen got it all in.
It's hard. I'm actually 10 feet away from the screen just so I fit. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today. As always, make sure you visit our website to see all of our open positions, or shoot us a message if you need anything. And if you are interested in our TSR program, go ahead and leave a comment here, or you can email us at tsrinfo@tenovallc.com. All right, y'all. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.